So, hello everyone. I'm going to do a little session with you guys for the people that are here and for YouTube too, for our channel. So, I guess you guys are seeing my screen. So, I'm going to start by the easiest part is how to set a cash game sim. So I know this is not like a thing that MTT players want to, but just like it's going to be on YouTube. So let's see how we set a cash game sim. So first we set up like the stakes we play. So let's imagine that we play No Limit 50. So let's see, $50. We are going to do a 100 big blind sim. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The blinds are 0.25, 0.5. There is no ante. Ante is 0. The game is raked, so we change this for raked. And now we have three options here. So the first option is if there is no flop, there is no rake. The second option is what the GG has. So this is the one you want to use if you play on GG. And the full is no matter what, there is always going to have rake. So you are going to choose, for example, GG network. And now we want to see like what is the rake and what is the cap. So I have this site here. You can use this one that has like all the rake rules and all the caps. So let's see, no limit 50 for GG poker. So 5% rake, $4 cap. So we are going to do 5% rake, $4 cap. Okay. This one is fine. We click next. And the next thing that appears is the pre-flop settings. I already have some pre-flop settings saved in my PC. So I'm going to use the pre-flop settings. I use these settings for cash games. The abstraction that I think is going to be better for cash games. I don't use less than 2K 500 for cash games. It's going to be very, very difficult for you if you have a classic license to do a cash game sim, because this is only for pre-flop, and now we need to add the post-flop. I have a post-flop configuration in my PC too, so post-flop. Normally I use one smaller size, one bigger size, and one overbet just for study purpose. For multi-way, I use two sizes too, if my PC can handle. As we can see here, my PC can't handle this abstraction or these sizes. So if I don't want to change my abstraction, I'm going to change my multi-way. So I'm going to set, like, for example, 50. And this way we can already see that our tree becomes a lot smaller, and we can now run the sim. For cash games, for example, you can reduce the size of the tree if you use limit with the donk pads, for example. As you can see, it reduces the size of the tree too. If you want always to add an all-in, you can always add the -1. So you can over your mouse in the place you set the number, and you see like a tooltip that allows you to and helps you to build like the tree. I don't use flop sizes, at least in this update. probably next week we are going to add another update where is going to be where you can add fixed sizings. I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek. This is going to be for cash games and MTTs. So it's going to be something like this. This is going to be the next post-flop settings for HRC. As you can see, you will be allowed to put flop, turn, and river sizings. And this is going to have for both cash games and MTTs. So we are going to use the simple ones for now, and you just click finish and you run your sim. Usually I run my sims up to 10 and 5 CI. I think around those numbers it's okay. So you will be fine doing a cash game sim with that settings. So we are now set up with the cash games, how we do it. So now let's change it for the MTTs. So let's start. We start MTTs with, we can do GPV2, we can do ICM. This is only for final tables. This one is for multi-table, and this one is future game simulation. I guess this one, and this one you guys already know or don't have like a lot of doubts. Future game simulation is basically HRC running ends into the future. Uh, and what HRC does, it runs the hands in the future and allows you to create ranges knowing what is going to happen in the future. Uh, what's the problem of FGFs? FGS is only run it as all in or fold. So if you have a final table where there is a lot of bigger stacks, it's not recommended to use FGS. So be careful with that. So let's start and let's run a sim. I'm going to use a template. You can use a template to run a MTT sim. For example, I have MTT sim saved here. As you guys can see, I'm going to start the calculation using the inputs of this end. So I'm going to start a new calculation. And you guys can see that everything is as all the numbers that we need because we use the inputs from that sim. You can use that if you already have a sim done in the past. So as you can see, like we are going to run this sim. So this part is already set up, structure, stacks, PKOs. Don't forget that a lot of sites you need to double the number that you see on your table. For example, you can see that 2TG here as 37 bucks, but the total amount of the PKO is the double, so it's 75. So we click next. Just to explain, like this is the maximum amount of players that is going to be played in the hand. So HRC by default has 4 players. I don't recommend using less than that unless you are very sure that you are going to use or are going to run only button, small blind, and big blind. Otherwise, the ranges are going to be very different from the reality. So we click next, and it's going to appear this menu. In this menu, you have the stacks of the other tables. Normally, HRC uses the average of your table to define how many people there are left. If you click here, you can change the numbers here if you think they are very different from the reality. You can put like a different remaining players, different average stack, and you can even like change the state the shape that you are seeing. For example, if we click here and put point 4, you are going to see like the stacks are more even now. So we click next. It's the same thing. We put our pre-flop settings. We put our post-flop settings. We don't need these for now. We are not going to use these ones, so it doesn't matter. So normally it's the same as the cash games. I use again a small size, a bigger size, and a overbet. It's the same for the multi-way, small size, bigger size, and overbet. If you don't have space, you can always like use lesser size on the multi-way. It's going to be better than use less abstractions. The abstractions is the same. I use the minimum T settings. You can use less if your PC can't handle it. So for the pre-flop, we have how many people you allow it to limp, how many people you allow to call open, how many people you allow to call a 3-bet, how many people you allow to call a 4-bet. This is cold calls. For example, some guy 3-bets, you are allowing 2 people to cold call a 3-bet. These ones are simple too, like small blind complete, allowing cold calls and allowing closing flats. That is, if you are allowing the person that starts the action to always close the action because of the max limit of people. This part is simple. This is all in threshold here, and like everything has a tooltip. If you have like any doubts, everything has a tooltip. So if you guys, I just seen the channel, the Discord channel, has some examples in the script. For example, I have one script that I use myself. For example, what my script does is it rebets by stack sizes. And for you doing this in the user interface, you need like a little more work. But like using a script is more faster in that example. So if you have like any doubts or you need like to build a script, you can check the HRC Discord, and there is some examples there, and there will be people there that can guide you for creating your own script. So we set up everything. We can go to the preview and see if everything is as we want. Try to do this, just not like creating the sim and after creating, you need to get back because the sizes are not what you want. Click finish, and this is going to be the sim that we did. So as you can see, like since I only wanted to see, for example, the middle position reaction, I locked the UTG and the EP, and I use it prune children. Why I use it prune children? The reason was the sim was too big and I needed space to increase the abstraction of the sim. So what I did was prune children is going to delete, is going to maintain the main node, and it's going to delete like the rest of the nodes if you use prune children. Don't use like the prune action if you need like space in more space, like more RAM space in your sim. And if you don't need like the OTG and the EP nodes, you can use the prune children. So I run at the sim. This is like the sim runner, right? And now let's start to do one thing that one user already asked. So Liu asked if I can show an example for a pre-flop node locking versus a player type that isn't UTG. For example, big blind response when button only opens 20% of the hands. So let's do that, Liu. So for example, button opens 50% here. And when button opens 50%, we can see that the big blind range is something like that. But Liu says that his field only opens, for example, let's stop here these calculations. Liu said the button in his fields only opens, for example, 35% or 20%, for example. So we are going to set like a target frequency of 20%. We are going to click OK. And since we are only going to change the tree after the button, we are going to use a subtree. What subtree does? What subtree does is, like the name says, is going to run everything after the button. So anything before the button is not going to change. Everything after the button is going to change. Every time you node lock or edit a range or use a frequency lock, you need to click reset regret. And what reset regret does is going to clean all the EVs that you guys are seeing here. So all of these signs are positive to open as a positive EV to open. But now, since we are going to put a 20% max of open, what is going to happen is we need to delete these EVs and start fresh. So that is we are going to happen. The C target, I usually like use something around 5, 4, 6, 3. Like you can run around those numbers, and after that you can see if the range is the way you like or not. So let's see how the frequency lock is going to do. So I'm going to run a frequency lock in a subtree. Is already like doing the subtree. Remember that when you set the 20%, the number that can appear here can be different. And why the number here is not 20%? It's because of the sorry, it's because of the card removal. So later you are on the tree, more card removal is going to happen. So the 20% you are going to see here is not going to be the number you are going to see here. So don't worry, we did everything all right, but the number that we are going to see here is not going to be the same we are going to see here because of the card removal, just in case someone asks. So we already put a 20% target, and we can already see the HRC is creating that range for us. We didn't add it manually. HRC is doing that for us. As you can see here, is running and will take us like something around 20 minutes. And we can already see how the button plays versus a 20% range. So this is the adaptation that HRC does in this case. So this is was the question from Liu. You guys can do a lot of stuff. I'm going to open another sim here. So I'm going to open again this. So this is one of the things you can do. Another one that we can do, for example. So, for example, let's remove the frequency target of the button. And for example, let's say that when the button opens and the big blind calls, the big blind checks, and the button, for example, has 100% c-bet. It's something that some players are going to do. So we are going to set 0 for check, and we are going to click OK. So, and we are going to run again from the button using uh, reset regret. What is going to happen? HRC is going to find a better strategy for the big blind when he knows that the player from the button is going to see bet 100% of his range. Don't forget to click reset regret again, and let's see. This is going to take some time, but the purpose of this is for you to see that some things change. And the more aggressive the strategy, uh, the more like HSC likes to slow play some type of hands. For example, I'm loading like the actual hand for us to compare what happens on this stage. Uh, let's see. This is something. This is something normal. Another thing that you can do like with HRC. So let's pick again like this sim. I can pick like this sim as like this way. So the sim in theory was something like this. So 42, right? 43, and the big blind was playing like 42% calls, 10% raises, and like to be more fast, I'm going to do something. So let's see. I'm going to copy this range from the button here. I'm going to copy the range from the small blind. I'm going to copy this range too. And I'm going to run only this part. So to be more fast for us. You can guys already see like it's more fast this way. I already had the sim, like the sim in GTO. And since I'm going to do a node lock, what I did was I copied these ranges to this sim because I only want to know how is going to be the big blind adaptation. Uh, so let's see what is the big blind adaptation. It's still running. We don't see like drastic changes when the button is going to see bet 100%. We see, I think we are going to see a little more folds from theory, like big blind folds 19%, is folding a little more, like in our node lock. The percentage of 3-bet maintains the same, and like as you can see, like everything starts maintaining the same, right? And it's going to be like basically what is going to change more is like the big blind starts folding like the bottom of range because button is going to see bet 100%. Now, what you guys think is going to happen if, for example, we come here, but let's stop here, and we said like the button see bets 100%. So for example, let's see, like I'm going to delete this node. So for deleting a node, you can do right click, prune action. So I'm going to delete post flop nodes, prune action, prune action, and I'm going to leave for example, this is let's see, this is, I'm going to use these ones only. So run action, and I'm going to delete all in. Delete all in. So let's use one size for post flop only. And let's see what changes from theory. Let's see again if something changes, other ways, in the other way. So since we only add a small number, there is not going to be like some changes in that aspect. So, but as you guys can see, like you guys can already use the frequency locks, lock in a post flop node, and trying to change the pre-flop node. For example, let's see like if the button cbets 100% and we call, and we know the, for example, the big blind checks again, and the button cbets turn 100% again, how that will change, if that will change more our range pre-flop, for example. Um, uh, so this is the theory of the hand, and this is the range of the big blind. And as we can see, some parts of our range now wants to call instead of 3-bet pre-flop. You guys can see the changes happening, right? Hands like nines, eights now have like more call than 3-bet, because HRC knows that our opponent is going to bet flop and turn 100% of the time. So it's better like to start calling these hands instead of like 3-betting. Like he's going to collect more money instead of 3-betting 3, right? So I think this future is very useful for our studies. Like Liu on the chat already gave us an example, like because we play versus different types of people. Some guys are aggressive, some guys are like passive, and if you know how they play, you can adjust your ranges pre-flop, and you can adjust your ranges post-flop. So that's basically what you can do like with frequency locks. But something that you can think about it, you can run it in HRC. Now, let's go like for other part of the tree, like the post flop. As you guys know, like there is not a lot of solvers that can run post flop with ICM, and every PKO hand is ICM hand. So for running a post flop, hand is very simple. You select the node you want. For example, button open, big blind call, you go to hand, you create post flop calculation, and it's going to appear at the board. So let's say it's going to be 10 of spades, 8 of diamonds, 8 of clubs. We click next, and it's going to appear like this menu. Once again, since the tree is going to be a lot small, you can use more sizes if you want. So I'm going to use for multi-way these sizes. But since the hand is heads up, this is not going to be used. And I'm going to use like 30, 70, 100, and 150. So you click finish. You can change the turn if your PC doesn't have enough RAM. You can change it to 16K. I don't recommend it. I always try to use the perfect. So I'm going to use, and you click finish, and it's going to create a post-flop solution. And then you click run hash. The post-flops can only be run in full tree, and you can run like a CI target, like for example, 5. You don't need to click anything else, and you just click OK, and it's going to start like running the post-flop. One of the things that the field does today is they play the post flop in PKOs as they play the post flop in like a GPV spot. It's not the same. It's not the same. So it's running, so you guys can see like how the range reacts. You guys can navigate here like the nodes, so big blind checks, button opens. He prefers like a small size. There is like some hands that prefer a big size, for example. So check, for example, bet small. We can see the strategy from the big blind calls, for example. And you go here to put like the turn and the river. So for example, let's select the deuce of spades. HRC runs flops, turns, and river all at the same time. So you don't need like to run again the sim. Based the HRC is running all the with this flop, he is running all the turns and all the rivers. So we just need to come here and change like instead of the Duke of Spades, it's like the Five of Clubs, and it's already done. Like if your sim is finished, you are going to be like you can check any turn you want, any river you want, you don't need to run it. So what we did with the frequency locks in the preflop, we can do here too. So for example, we can see here that big blind checks 90% and the button checks like 27%. But we are playing against a passive player, for example. And we know that in this kind of boards, like pair boards, he's going to check more than 27%. He's a passive player. He don't bet too much. So we think he's going to check more than 27%. So we stop the calculation. You go here, right click, frequency lock, and we are saying that it's going to check like 50% of the time. We are going HSC to decide what better size is going to be the best. So we click OK. It's going to be the same, reset, regret, and OK. So what is going to happen now is now I'm going to see what is my big blind strategy when what is the big blind strategy when the button only opens 50% of the time. You run the sim again, you see like you see HSC is constructing his range, his betting range, right? And then you can see like how our strategy changed in that aspect. I think that is very useful. It can help you like play. Sorry. It can help you play versus different types of people, and basically can help you study too. I'm going to show you guys like one thing before if I ask if you guys have any questions. We are basically today like testing the new post-flop sizings. Uh, Basically, you are going to be able to select like your fixed sizes if you want. You can use like geo sizes too, for example. And you can do this for like flop, turn, and river. You can use this option if the SPR is low. So basically it's the same. We just like added the turn and the river and allow it like the fixed sizes in this way. Um, Another thing that I think I should mention. So, for example, in the pre-flop sim, if you want to know like, let me see. Okay, this. If you want to know like, if 8 big blinds 3-bet, it's the better size to use or the size that has the most EV. Right click, no details, line EV sampling, and you sample and you see like the EV of the strategy, so call or 3-bet 8 big blinds. It has like an average of $166. You can after like do another sim, change the size, for example, to 10 big blinds and see what and do the same thing and see if the EV is higher or lower than the number that we saw. If the number is higher, that means the strategy with a different 3-bet size is going to be better than this size. Uh, Other thing that you guys can see that is different from the normal HRC is like the algorithm. We are now testing a new algorithm, the experimental one, and the experimental algorithm basically does is it runs the full tree, but the nodes that doesn't have, for example, let me see if I found like a node. For example, we see that hijack versus MEP doesn't have it has like 0 gems. So what the experimental algorithm is going to do is going to sample more this one, this one, this one, and this one is going to sample a less more. Sorry, it's going to sample less. So for the algorithm, the experimental algorithm, what it does is the nodes that are basically not used at all is going to be sampled less. And what it does is it increase the speed of the sampling of the other nodes. So basically you achieve your results faster. So for the people that are in the Discord, does anyone want to ask something or want me to explain something that you guys didn't understand well? You guys can ask to talk if you need. Um, no one has doubts? Okay, guys. So if no one has doubts, that is going to be our session for today. Uh, this video is going to be in our YouTube channel. We are probably going to do other sessions in the future, basically with the fixed sizes, for example, for post flop, or more ideas for the frequency logs. If you guys play like poker full time, if you guys play poker at part time, knowing how to use HRC is going to help you guys a lot. So I hope you guys like enjoyed the session. I hope you guys like in YouTube enjoyed the video. And you guys know like if you have any questions, you guys can always ask me or the other members of the HRC team in Discord. So thank you guys for coming and I see you guys later. Bye.